Let's go, Danny.
Let's bring him on. Danny,
how you
boys? Feeling after the news of the Thomas Frank sacking? You know, certain person told me he would still be here till the end of the season.
I thought he would be.
He'll be here next season.
Yeah, I was. To be honest with you, I wasn't shocked. I did think he would still be here until the end of the season, purely because my thought was that I can't see where they go once they sack Frank. And I think it just, to me, it's like, it's the club's, let's say, like we've all been saying, really, their non-existent plan, right, of where do we go from now. And I think that's probably the reason why, that is the reason why I thought they won't sack him, is because they've got no idea what to do. So it's like, the way I see it now is with, look, I'm not one of these fans. I'm not one of the fans who was saying that Frank was the biggest problem. I'm probably one of the very few that was saying that I don't think another manager changes anything that's going on at Spurs right now. I still believe that even with Frank until the end of the season, I bet that we're not going to get relegated. I still believe we'd get 11 points in the last 13, 12 games. Even if that was a draw every single game, I think we'd get enough to stay up, in my opinion.
Well, we have 12 and 17, Danny.
What's that? Sorry.
We have 12 and 17 at the moment.
Yeah, I still believe with maybe a couple players coming back towards the end of the season that it could help in 1 or 2 games. I still believe that we would get enough points to stay up.
Isn't that too risky to let yourself go to 2 points, 3 points, whatever, close to the relegation zone going into the proper latter stage of the season?
Yeah, I think it is, Ben. I'm not going to disagree, but I think what was the bigger risk was the club not doing anything in January to help the situation. We came down with 8 injuries in the January period, and rather than get some bodies in, and I know a lot of us probably would sit here and say half the players that have been mentioned who we could get in, like your Raheem Sterlings or players like this. I think most of us right now would take any one of them type of players because it gives you another body. At least it can help with giving the players that are playing a little bit of a rest or a bit of rotation. And the fact that like we've got another ACL injury is just, it's like a circus. It's like it really is that Mick McCarthy meme. Can it get worse? It can. It can. Do you know what I mean? It's like that. And it's just, look, I understand what everyone's saying about Thomas Frank had to go. I understand all of this stuff. Even though I don't think, for me personally, it wouldn't have made a difference whether he'd gone or whether he'd stayed. My concern right now, is where do we go with the interim manager? Because to me, what it looks like is that they probably will bring in Heitinger. And I have more concerns as Heitinger as the manager than Thomas Frank to save us from a relegation battle, in my opinion. So it's like, have we really rolled the dice to bring in Heitinger to be the guy that's going to try and steer us away from relegation? Is that where we at right now? And that's what my biggest concern is with Spurs at the moment.
Who would you turn to, Danny?
In a dream situation or a realistic situation?
Realistic.
In a realistic situation right now, I mean, look, if who I'd love to see, and I think probably most of us would like to see, is Harry Redknapp. I know he's twerking for it as well at the moment. He wants to get the band back together, get Nico Cranchaw on the phone and bring him in as a coach. So it'll get them all back together. I'd love to see it, to be honest. One last dance of Harry Redknapp. I think that would be even if we were to go down, at least it was Harry Redknapp. But I don't know. I really don't know where they go. I honestly believe it's going to be Heitinger who's going to be the manager. And the reason I say that is because they've got no idea what they're doing. Like, I do not trust this board to make any clear decision
So let me ask you this, Danny. If you think it's going to be Heitinger, right, and you weren't worried about relegation whilst Frank was the manager, right? Now you say Heitinger is not going to do as good as Frank. Then are you genuinely worried about relegation now? Then, if you think Heitinger is going to come in,
yeah, I do. I'm more worried about it, Ben. Like, even though I still believe we're not going to get relegated, but I am more worried about it than with say Heitinger as the manager than I was with Thomas Frank.
Because if he does worse than Thomas Frank, we will go down. There's no.
And that's my biggest worry, Ben, is that like sometimes the grass isn't always greener, and if you roll the dice, right, it's got to be something that you've got to hope that it's going to be better than what you had to at least get you out of that situation. I don't think Frank would have got relegated, but if Johnny Heitinger is the manager, as interim, I have more fear that we will go down than not. And that's where my issue is with why I didn't want him to go, not because I didn't like him, because I want to clear this. I want to make this clear. I never wanted him in the first place. I've always said it was a sideward step going for Frank. Like, I really never wanted the manager to come in at the club. I was with Stel from that moment where I wanted Ange to be given the chance because just of what he represented. But now I would definitely not take Ange back. I think Ange will definitely get us relegated if he comes back. There's no doubt in my mind. Playing his football with 11 fit players, we'll be done. I don't
you're saying Frank could have got a few more results when injured players came back. Could Ange not have got those points if injured players came back?
No, not with Ange's style of football. No way.
I might get a few wins. We're not winning games at the moment.
Yeah, but the difference was I know we're not winning games, but for me, the difference with Ange and Frank, we all can kind of see this, is that Frank is far more pragmatic and Ange is gung-ho. And if you go gung-ho with the amount of injuries that we've got, we're going to be doing what we did at the end of last season, where we're not just losing by 1 goal, we're losing by 3 or 4. And then the fans would be even more in uproar because...
How many did we actually lose by 3 or 4 last season? It wasn't many.
I can't remember how many it was, but it was quite...
Liverpool a couple times.
There was one against Palace, wasn't there, at the end?
Palace 2-0, yeah.
What was the last day of the season? We lost, was it 2?
Brighton, yeah.
I
mean, that season, Carl, you can forgive that game. The players were bloody hungover.
Yeah, they were drunk. Yeah, I remember that. But I don't know. It's just it's just like we're in such a mess with this football club, where it's like at this point we're all kind of just having many different guesses and opinions of where we go or what could be the fix for us. I mean, I think a lot of us know what the actual real fix is, and I think the biggest thing that we can do really to really fix this all is sell the club. That is for me the ultimate fix, because I think it's just there's too much.
Yeah, but that's not going to keep us up, is it?
It's not, right? Not at this moment, no. But I just, I don't know where we go from here right now. Like I'm more worried now than I was before, and I think. Are they realistically going to go and pick up the phone to Harry Redknapp and give him the job? Probably I doubt it. Tim Sherwood, I wouldn't mind seeing Tim Sherwood, because I think he'd the way he is, he's a bit like a shout in your face type manager. He won't take no bullshit type of thing. So I'd like that kind of thing for this moment in time. But again, we've got players that if they don't like a manager, look at how they act, right? So what happens if, hypothetical, what happens if Tim Sherwood comes in, right? And then he starts shouting at the players saying, oh, what are you doing? Your shit. You need to do this, you need to do that. And Romero's like, oh, I'm not going to listen to you. I don't like how you're speaking to me. And then that trickles down to the players, and all the players don't want to play for him. Because if I'm being honest, a lot of these players don't really care. Because if the worst case scenario happens and Tottenham are to get relegated, a lot of those players know they're just going to go to other clubs, right? And that's where I have the biggest problem, because as much as the manager is part of a problem, I still think from all of the problems that we have, I think the players are a bigger part of the problem than the manager was, right?
Wait. But Dan, if you're saying they know they're going to go to other clubs, why is that? Because they're good enough to do, right?
No, because if we go to the Championship,
yeah.
I'm saying. Because they're not going to... Those players are not going to stay at Tottenham in the Championship, are they?
Yeah, because they're good enough to be picked up by other clubs, right?
Not that they're good enough to be picked up by other clubs. It's that they're not going to stay and we won't be able to afford to have them. So they're going to have to be fire sold because we won't be able to afford it.
But you don't think better clubs will pick up a lot of those players?
I think 1 or 2 players maybe go to better clubs. That's about it. Van der Ven, maybe Xavi Simons. Apart from that, I don't think any of our players
Romero does as well.
Maybe Romero. Maybe.
Inter talking about picking up Vicario. Porro probably goes to a good club.
Who do you think Porro goes to if we go down?
A big club, a club of our similar size to us, I would say.
Maybe it's possible. Maybe in a team like a Man City, he would suit the way they play football. But look, for me, again, when we're looking at the game yesterday, again, like I don't know if you guys listened to it on the commentary. Did you hear what Glenn Hoddle was saying last night on commentary? No. All day, throughout the whole match. He must have said it like 7 times. He kept saying the players are not making any movements off the ball. They're not making any movements off the ball. They're too static. He kept banging on about it. And it's literally what I've seen for the last 2 years with 2 different managers, where the players don't want to make movements. They don't want to fight. Again, Xavi Simons yesterday, like there was a moment where he picked up the ball. He went into a little bit further than the middle of the pitch. He looks up and there's no one around him. I think, was it Brains might have said something similar? I can't remember. Someone said it, right? And he passed back to Basuma, and then the look on his face afterwards was like, really, is this kind of, where are my teammates? Where are my teammates? And it's like, it's too much. And yes, you can say that's partly tactics, but there is also the element of why are the players not giving these players options
because
for
they're
their
told
teammates.
to run in behind constantly, always run away from the ball, never come close to it and give the options. That's the way we play.
It was happening last season as well, mate. It wasn't
no,
just
it wasn't.
under. It was. It
no,
was.
It wasn't.
Yes, it was.
No, it wasn't. Not that specific problem. Every player usually had a number of options. They did. That's how Ange played.
The players, Sim, last season were, again, the amount of times I was saying how static they are. They're not making movements for their teammates. Because at the end of the day, a lot of these players, they just don't want to put in the hard ground, the hard sort of yards to do the work is necessary to play in a Premier League game week in, week out. They just don't want to do it, right? That's my opinion on it. These players just don't want to do it. And I think there's too much. And what something Stel was saying in the last call about the players, about thinking that they can produce more. But again, I have to. The amount of times I've banged this drum, it's getting beyond silly, because the fact that I think our attack this season is far worse than last season, right? We have not brought in players to replace Son. We lost Maddison. We lost Kulu. We had no Solanke at the beginning of the season. And unfortunately, all of those players were the ones that were giving us the goals and assists. We haven't got the creativity in that midfield, in the final third, that those players last season gave us. So where does this come? Where does the creativity and the goals come from with the current group of players? Then adding on top who's available and fit. Then adding on top of the ones who have all the injuries that we've had over the course of the season. I cannot see where goals come from, right? Which is why we've technically been a Timu version of Arsenal with their set piece FCs this season. Like, that's where most of our goals have come from, set pieces or crosses, right? And it's funny how our centre backs are the ones scoring more goals than anyone else in our team. It just blows your mind.
We don't create chances.
Yeah, but we do. We create chances from crossing, Sim. We cross the ball in the box second most in the Premier League.
Yeah, second most crosses, but chances created, we're near the bottom.
Yeah, but look at the players who are in front for the chances.
Right.
But the chances aren't coming.
Yeah, because we haven't got the players to provide those chances.
We do. We have Xavi. We had Kudus for a lot of the season. Porro. What's wrong with Xavi?
So Xavi, the player that has only recently started playing well because he's started to get stronger and been given consistent minutes.
I don't think that's true. I think there was a tactical change that is able to get Xavi with more players around him. Actually, before, when everyone was slating Xavi, he was doing all the right things, but there was no players in and around him and 30 yards around him.
But it's the same right now, Ben. It's the same right now. Xavi again last night. He had no players around him. Xavi was the only player.
Is that his fault though? Is that his fault?
Well, it's his teammates' fault as well, because yesterday what I saw, Ben, is a team full of individuals who didn't want to play for each other.
Mm-hmm.
Did you not see that as well? Was it just me, or was there a lot of players just playing for themselves yesterday? And the only player who was really fighting was Xavi. He was the only one on that pitch.
And Archie Gray.
Yeah, Archie Gray to an extent, I'd say. Yeah. I could agree with that. And this is my problem, Ben. I've seen this too many times. Not just in Ange's squad, not just in Frank's squad, not just in Conte's squad. Since Pochettino's final season, I have seen these same patterns. So it cannot just be a manager and the players that manager's got all the time. It's everything. It's a fundamental cultural problem that we have at this football club. The acceptance of mediocrity, the acceptance of not having to fight, the acceptance of not having to give your all for the badge that you play for. For me, this is going back years, and the last time any of us saw players fight for the badge was in the first couple of years of Poch, the first 3 or 4 years of Poch. That's when we saw players actually have a unity, and the fans came together, and the club came together because everyone was going in the same direction. The players, the manager, everyone, the director of football. But we've got people, and we've got staff, we've got players that don't want to be here. I mean, Romero just clearly doesn't look like he wants to be here anymore.
Do you think the players even care about the threat of relegation? Because we all talk about how many players don't want to be here, the players don't want to be here, but we all know how much of a hard bargain that Spurs are going to do to actually let them out the door in the summer. So, like, the biggest fix for them is to go down and get easy moves in the summer.
But this is what I know. This is a statistical way of thinking, Ben. But this is kind of a little bit of how I've thought in the back of. I can't see these players caring, because how can you, as a Tottenham Hotspur player, right? When you look at the situation that's going on with the football club, and regardless of what the manager is telling you to do, let's just say the manager is telling you to play a certain way, right? Would it not be then for the player to take it on themselves, like we've seen this season and with Ange last season, to go and play to try and win the game in any way they can? Because look at the way Van der Ven and Romero have been our top scorers this season. I don't think that's by design that those players have scored more goals than our strikers have. I think that's because the players have taken it on themselves, because they're trying to find some way of trying to get a goal, and because those players really believe that they can help the team to get a goal.
So they don't believe in the manager's tactics.
So I think it's a bit of everything, Ben. I don't think these players believe in any of the manager's tactics we've had over the years, and clearly they didn't believe in the manager's tactics in the Europa League run last year, because the players wanted to play.
Van der Ven said in the interview with Gary Neville that he's fully convinced that Ange's tactics work.
Yeah, but then in the same breath, he said that we had to tell Ange that we needed to play more defensive, otherwise we were going to open up and concede goals.
Okay, but he said to this day, I still believe his tactics work. That's what he said.
Yeah,
verbatim.
but he also said what I just said. He also said that too, right?
So and they did that, and they won the Europa League. So what?
So what I'm saying to you is that these players, I really don't think care enough, because if they did care enough, they would be putting everything on the line, like everything. And I did not see enough fight from the players. Not even the basics yesterday. Like the one thing as a fan that I want to see, Ben, regardless of the quality of the player, is someone who gives everything, right? Someone who puts like 110% in whenever they play on that pitch. And I think a lot of fans will accept a loss or a defeat more if you see the team really trying. And yesterday, I saw a team that just looked completely like they just didn't really want to be there. They didn't care. And I'm like, I don't care who the manager is, right? You're playing for Tottenham. You're potentially in a relegation battle, and you're going more and more into a relegation battle. You should be playing to save this club. But it seems like they're not. They're just playing for themselves. And this is where my biggest problem is with the players. I don't think they care enough, because like you just said, Ben, I think in the back of their minds, if we do go down, it will be a lot easier for a lot of these players to get moves out of the club, because the club is going to have to sell, because they cannot afford. Like I think even Matt Law said, there's no relegation clauses in these players' contracts because I don't think Tottenham ever thought they'd be in a position where they'd be relegated. So you're gonna have to sell players regardless because you've got the stadium debt still got to pay. You're going to lose money from TV revenues. You're going to lose sponsorship deals. You've still got player transfer debt. It's going to mount up.
The thing is, Danny, I agree with you to a certain extent about the players, right? I think the players need to come under a lot of criticism. However, the manager is throwing under the bus with the tactics that he's deploying them and getting them set out to do. It's a losing tactic that invites pressure and is not able to garner enough chances to go and win games. That's the reality. And we have to wait until we're 2-0 down for the manager to release any shackles off to let them go and play their game. So they've lost complete faith and trust in the tactics, and that happened quite early on. I think that happened quite early on.
But have they lost faith? Because if they'd lost faith, they wouldn't have given us that second half performance against Man City a few weeks ago, right? If they and in the game after that, right? That I have seen this team still try and fight. So it's just that they can't do it on a consistent basis and they can't do it over 90 minutes because there are a lot of circumstances like how decimated the squad is, right? That we just cannot perform at that type of intensity with everything going on, with all the injuries, the fatigue in the players.
Well, we never did before the injuries, though. We never did.
Yeah, but it was also the same last season, Tim, and the same under Conte.
But before injuries last season, we did perform with intensity, and we won a lot of games.
When?
Last season. We won.
No, we didn't. We lost 22 games last season.
Okay, you're not listening to what I'm saying. I'm saying before injuries. Before injuries, you're blaming the injuries. I'm saying this season before the injuries, we were still awful, like the Chelsea and Arsenal games. We had teams for those games. It wasn't injury riddle. I'm saying last season before the injuries, we won 5 games by 3 or more goals before the injuries.
Right, but in those games, Tim, again, I have to say this again, our attack is shambolic. Like it is the worst Spurs front line as a collective I have ever seen. Like hands down, it is the worst. I do not think as a collective I've ever seen a worse Spurs attack, in my opinion, right?
I think they're made to look worse by Frank.
I don't. I think they are just bad players, right?
I think they're made to look worse by Frank.
And this is where we're going to find out, Sim, whether it really is the manager or the players in the next how many games is it in the Premier League now? 12 or 13?
12 games,
12.
yeah.
12 games left, right? So whoever comes in, are you guys like I hear a lot with the fans and they say, oh, a different manager can get an extra 10%, extra 20% out of the players, right? I don't know what your take is on that. If that is the case, right, what is 20 or 10% extra for you guys?
What is it?
What do you mean, what is it?
More chances, more chances on goal, more attacking, and more chances of winning games.
Right. So you said more chances, and what was the other thing you said? More chances and
more attacking and more chance to win games. Yeah.
Right. So out of the players
better XG. Yeah, there you go.
Right. Out of the players that we've got available, who are the players that are going to give you more chances, better XG for you, Sim, and have more more chances on goal? Which players are going to be those players that are going to be able to do that?
The players that are there.
Gallagher, Xavi, Solanke, Tell, they're going to them.
So you think the players that have historically not done that are now going to do that?
That's not true, though. Moani as well.
But
that's not true. No, it's not.
What has Moani done this season?
You just said historically, now you're saying this season. This season they've been playing under Frank is the point, Danny. Right. They've been playing under Frank.
But historically, what has Tell done in the last 3 years? Bayern Munich and Spurs.
Yeah, he scored quite a few goals for Bayern, but that's regardless. This season, I think he's got minutes to goal ratio is one of the best because he's played so few, but he's got 3 goals.
3, right. So in a whole season, he's had 3 goals.
Because he barely plays.
Look at the minutes he's played.
Right. Okay, so you're saying that Tell is going to perform better when another manager comes in.
Absolutely.
That's what you think.
Yeah.
I don't. Right. I don't. I think it's going to be the same. So this is where we'll wait and see.
In fact, I think Tell's probably played better under Frank than he has under Ange.
I agree with that, and I think Odegaard has, and I think Who else has I think played better? Yeah, I think those two have definitely played better under Frank than under Ange, for sure. So, yeah, I love the hope that people have and thinking that these players can perform at better level. I just cannot see it because historically with these players, Solanke in his whole Premier League career has only had one Premier League season where he's good. He's just come back from injury as well, and he's another one that potentially could get injured because we've got no other option up front. And if he gets injured, then what do we do? We've just loaned out Dane Scarlett, our last striker. We've got one winger who's fit, like one winger. It's laughable. Like, I really don't know where people think that we can have this kind of philosophy with a different manager.
The thing is, Danny, a good manager comes in and he raises the level of players. He raises the level of players, and we're seeing that at Leeds United. We've got better players than Leeds United. They're able to consistently create chances and score goals more than us. And
but again, Ben, Leeds United haven't had to do in a season where they're playing European football, right?
Right.
What I get frustrated with is the fans seem to forget all the circumstances that come along with Tottenham Hotspur. And I'm not just talking about 2 games a week, European football. Also about us having a whole new board. We've had a director of football that basically left at the end of the window, right? He done more transfers for Fiorentina while he was at Spurs than he did at Tottenham in January.
Absolutely. That's because he wasn't working for Tottenham. He was working for Fiorentina.
I know, but it's like you can't make this up. Like you literally can't make this up. So it's like when you put everything and all the injuries, everything into it, like I just cannot see how what you guys see and believe that another manager is going to give these players an extra 10%. I don't believe that.
We've seen it on the games that we play. We only when we start playing when we're losing 2-0, we actually look creative and we can actually look to hurt the opposition.
Frank is the manager, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah, now he's gone. So who's going to be that guy who's going to give that?
Whoever it is, we need to see who that manager's going to be.
We need to see more of that. We need to see more of us being 2-0 down, that kind of play. More. That's what we need to see.
There's a stat. Apparently, if we're the first...
Ange going to be on the overlap, people, next week. No, seriously, it's just been announced.
Is he actually?
Yeah.
Oh, this is comical.
This is comical. Tomorrow.
So you got Poch twerking on Humphreys. You got Ange coming on the overlap now.
This is amazing. Did you know? There's a stat this season that when we go 1-0 down, we haven't come back to win a game.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I just look, honestly, boys, I really want to believe your hope that you have with another manager.
The thing is, Danny, we're not saying like these attacking players going to turn us into title-winning form or anything like that. We're just saying
you're not saying that. I know.
Better than bottom of the barrel.
We create some of the least XG in the whole league, Danny. I don't think these players are as bad as that. I just don't.
But Sim, let me. I hear you, right? But let me put this to you, right? Just say, for example, right? We get a different manager, right? Harry Redknapp comes in. We start playing a bit better football. We create more chances, but we're still losing matches. Are you then going to say it's down to the players because the players that are having more chances are not putting the ball in the back of the net because they have proven that they can't do that? Are you then going to say it's the players' fault, or are you going to say it's Harry Redknapp's fault?
Yeah, I would say it's the players' fault. Yeah.
And this is my argument, Sim.
But it's not an argument because that's all theoretical. What are you talking about?
Yeah, but I'm saying that I have seen this too many times with these players, and from last season, that a lot of these players cannot do the jobs that we require them to do.
God,
what?
I was just looking at the trailer. I was just looking at the trailer for the Ange thing on the overlap, and it was recorded today.
Was it?
What did it say, Ben? What did it say?
So it opens up saying Gary Neville saying our first question is going to be about Thomas Frank, and it just ends there.
Oh wow!
And it all starts off saying what timing to get you in the studio.
Well, Thomas Frank, he didn't do the job. I should have taken the job.
I'm so interested to see what he's going to say.
What was it? So what were we talking about, Danny? Before we got interrupted rudely?
No, just about the for me, it's just the players. I just think personally that whoever comes in as an interim, I think the fans are going to finally maybe start to see that these players really aren't as good as what people think they are or what they can produce. But personally,
we're talking about relegation, Danny. All I'm saying is they're better than that.
I know, Sim, but you say that we're better than that. But if we had a fully fit squad, I agree with you, mate. I really do. But we don't. Like, with what we've got available...
We were barely better than that when we did have a fairly fully fit squad this season.
No, but we haven't had a fit squad all season. We haven't. For Frank, that's why I feel sorry for Frank, because he never really got a chance to see what he could do with a fully fit Tottenham squad.
But he had a good enough squad to be better than this, is my point.
He didn't, though, Sim.
Of course he did. Come on,
he didn't.
Danny. Of course he did.
In my opinion, Sim, he didn't. He had Richarlison, who I hate as a player, and I think he should have been gone a long time ago, right? If he had Solanke from the beginning of the season playing with Kudus, Xavi Simons... Again, Xavi Simons only just started coming into it. I know he showed glimpses throughout the season, but you can clearly see the guy has put on some muscle mass, right? He has got bigger and he's looking better from a physical specimen, and he looks more in tune with the Premier League, and he's getting more and more in tune with it as time goes on. He was always going to be a player that was never going to hit the ground running from minute one. And we didn't replace Son, Sim, which is a massive, massive disappointment and complete negligence from the football club, right? And then we're going to expect Tel and Odebear to be the guys. I know Mohamed Kudus, right? And let's be honest, before he got injured, he was playing really well until a couple of weeks prior to that. It looked like he'd been running into the ground, and we weren't. It's just the whole club is the way everything is a mess. So.
But just look how we tried to play, Danny. That's all I'm saying. How we tried to attack games. How we tried to play games. That is, well, it's the same thing. We just looked for those runs in behind. We looked to facilitate crosses from Kudus and Porro, and then we looked from set pieces. And then on the other side, we're very, very passive. We allow shots from outside the box. We don't really pressurize the opposition. We're very passive the other way. That is all on the coach. All these, when it comes to patterns of play and how we tried to play our football, that all comes from the manager. The fact that we've created so little chances. You can have a bad team create loads of chances and lose games because the players aren't good enough to score them. But we don't create, is the point, and that comes from the manager. We don't facilitate a team dynamic to create chances.
I know, I agree with what you're saying, right? And I know, like, even yesterday, right, the amount of times that we were just smashing long balls and losing possession, it was just ridiculous, right? Do you think then, for me, because this is what I think, like, do you think there's an element that Frank doesn't believe the players can play the way that he wants them to play, and that's why he set us up this particular way?
This is how he played at Brentford. It's the same thing. This is how he wants to play.
Do you think that's how he wants to play, or do you think that he's limited to how he wants to play because of what he's got, the options he has?
This is how he wants to play.
But we don't really know that. That's the thing.
This is what he did at Brentford. So on that evidence, that is how he wants to play.
But Sim, he was a lot more attacking at Brentford, right? Especially in transition.
He wasn't.
And especially counter-attacking.
He was more effective. It wasn't more attacking.
Well,
he was always low possession. He was always long balls, looking to play second balls. He was always only attacking transition and also relying on his set pieces. Yeah, he did have better plays in the front lines. So it was more effective, but it was the same stuff. It's very basic.
Yeah, a little bit. I agree with you to an extent. I agree with you to an extent, right? But I still believe that he wanted to play a lot more front-footed football. But I just think that it was never going to happen with the current crop of players that we have. It just wasn't. Especially when you've got someone like Richarlison, who's up front most of the season, who can't control the football to save his life. It's like when you see the difference when we have Dominic Solanke playing, and it's not like he's a massive upgrade on Richarlison, but he is a better focal point, and it is what it is with who we've had available.
That's fine, but Richarlison's is not fault for our build up. and how we set and how we build up through the defensive midfield, why we never ever under any circumstances play through the middle, why we always focus on going out wide, why we're always going on playing long ball and asking players to chase second balls constantly, and that's kind of our method of progressing the ball up the line. That is not on Richarlison. Yeah, Richarlison has his issues, don't get me wrong, but the reason why we never keep possession and we're not a dominant team is not down to Rishi.
Yeah, and to me, that's down to the players not having the ability to do the basics.
They're following what Frank wants them to do. Frank doesn't care about dominating.
Sim, I honestly, I did see this last season with Frank, with Ange. It was a lot of the same thing. Why do you think last season? How many times last season did we say we are getting battered in the midfield and we could do with a number 6? Every single one of us. So many in the stadium, the amount of fans I spoke to were all saying we are just getting outnumbered and out-battered in the midfield, right? And that hasn't really changed that much this season.
But he played a different way.
But Sim, if you don't have players,
but we didn't have the number 6 last season. We brought in a João Palhinha. We've got more bodies in the midfield this season. But at least last season, we could see a clear method of how we wanted to attack teams. Porro and Udogie would come central and inverting the fullbacks. There are players that can progress the ball through the middle of the park. Bentancur's forward passing stats last season to this season are worlds apart. That's because we don't have any sort of way to progress the ball through the middle of the pitch. All we have is get Porro out wide, scat Bam crosses in. When Kudus is playing, get him to take on the whole team and try and get across in the box. That's all we have.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying, but I still think it's limited because of what we have, and I don't think the players are capable of doing that sort of game that you want us to play. Because when we were playing like that, Ben, we were losing more games.
Yeah,
like, I know we could still lose 22
chances.
games.
We're not talking about winning and losing. Create chances. That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, but there's a fine. I think the problem that Frank has had all season is finding the balance, right? Finding the balance between attacking football and defense, pragmatic football, and I think that's what Ange also struggled with as well. Because Ange, he just wanted to go gung ho no matter what. But with Frank, he's a lot more cautious. And what I've seen this season is when he has gone more attacking, we've opened up, and when he has gone more defensive, we just can't score goals at all. We just cannot score. And the only time we can score is from set pieces. So it's a fine balance. And honestly, I really, really hope whoever comes in does well, because we need him to. But I just can't see how this extra bounce is going to come with a different person, unless it's someone like, I don't know. I've got no idea who. I've got no idea. I mean, who do you guys realistically think is going to be the interim manager, or who do you actually want?
I think it's going to be Heitinger. I think it will be. I think the direction of travel is Heitinger till the end of the season, and then we'll just go get Poch back.
Unless he does a Stellini.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking. Yeah, we could have another sack in this season,
and then they'll just ride it out with Mason.
Yeah, you know it, innit? He's gonna come back, Ryan Mason for the 4th stint. But Sim, what about you? Like realistically, who do you think is going to be the manager, and who would you actually want as the interim?
I think right now the plan is to wait for Poch.
I agree with that in terms of for the next season. I do agree that's what's going to happen.
Yeah, I'm just reading reports. Apparently, the plan is to try and look for someone external to try instead of hiring internal. Yeah.
Okay.
But
I'll have to wait and see.
I really got no idea.
You see, and this is the problem. Like, if us fans can't even really.
Yeah, but we're not paid millions to make these
decisions. I know we're not, Sim. I know we're not. But like usually you could kind of, you'd get a consensus from the fan base where you'd say, oh yeah, I could see that happening, right? But you've got people saying Sam Allardyce, you've got people saying Gareth Southgate, you've got people saying get Poch in now. It's just no one knows what this club is going to do, because I think the truth is they don't know what they're going to do. I don't think they do.
I think what we should do for an interim, we need to try and get like a Chelsea-style interim in, like a Rafa Benitez, like a Hiddink, one of these kind of guys.
I wouldn't
What's
say no
Hiddink
to one of
saying?
those
What's
guys.
Hiddink saying?
I wouldn't say no to Gus Hiddink. But yeah, I think we're in for an interesting end to the season, boys. And I just hope that whoever comes in does get that extra 10 and 20% out of the players. Even though I don't believe they will. I still believe we're not going to get relegated. But we'll see if I change my mind depending on who the interim is.
All right. Big up, Danny. Thanks for coming
Big up,
on,
boys.
mate.
Thanks for having me,
Speak to you
boys.
soon.
I'll speak to you later.
Nice
Bye.
one, Danny.